Today I'm going to be building my Ikki68 Aurora Mizu edition. The initial run for this keyboard was on February 24th, 2021 and featured 4 different colors: Charcoal, Mint, the Mizu edition, and the Devoted edition. The Mizu edition was a collab with ModernJA to design a board to match his popular set inspired by the water tribe from Avatar, and the Devoted edition was a collab with GMK Devoted, a set inspired by the band Roselia. Because this was the first run for the Ikki68 Aurora, the price was set at $129 for the Charcoal and Mint colorway, while the Mizu edition was sold for $159, and the Devoted version was sold for $195, though it also came with 75 JWK tactile switches that were in the GMK Devoted colorway. Now, I'm not the best builder by any means, and my camera setup is still pretty scuffed at the moment, so here's just a general overview of my build process. Lube your switches, lube your stabs, put everything together, and bam, your keyboard is done. In all seriousness, the process is pretty straightforward, and Wuque Studios has released a build guide that you can follow if it's your first time building a keyboard. I don't really plan on showing the full build process for this video because I'm not too satisfied with the video I shot, but here are some general tips to keep in mind when building your keyboard. 1. Make sure to test your PCB before building your keyboard. After you've plugged in your PCB to your computer, open up testing software like VIA and then use a pair of tweezers to complete the connection. If your PCB has any issues, make sure to reach out to the vendor to see if they can get you a replacement. 2. When lubing switches, less is better. Start out with a thin layer and try out the switch. If you prefer a thicker layer of lube, you can always go back and add more, but if you start out with a thick layer, you might overlube the switches, which will affect the typing feel and sound. You can remove the lube by wiping it or using an ultrasonic cleaner, but it's kind of a waste of lube, which can be pretty expensive. 3. Make sure the pins of your switches are straight. If you don't check your pins before sticking them into the PCB, the pins might not align with the hot swap sockets, which means that it will bend. Not only does this mean that the switch won't actuate when you press down, but you might have to spend some extra time straightening out the pins. It's not the end of the world if that happens, and it's pretty easy to bend the pins back in shape. Do remember to not be too rough while bending the pins, because if you snap it off, the switch is now useless. If you want more detailed guides on the build process, there are a lot of useful videos on YouTube, from lubing switches and stabilizers to different mods you can do to make your keyboard sound different. If this is your first build and you're feeling apprehensive, I highly recommend searching up some tutorials and following along. The Ikki68 Aurora uses an interesting system for its mounting, and has several plastic chips that hold the gasket strips that can be removed. Depending on which chips you take out, the sound and feel of the keyboard can change quite dramatically. For this build, I tried a total of 5 different configurations. Here are the sound tests for each of them. Out of all the configurations I tried out, the last one was what I liked best. I didn't like how the spacebar sounded with the OA switch, so I tried switching it out with the Gateron Ink Black, which gave me a deeper and fuller sound that I prefer. I also found that the keyboard sounded a lot better with the case silicone pad being removed, so I took that out. I did keep in the weight in though because I like the heft it provides. If you guys have any other configurations that you'd like to hear, just leave in the comment section below and I can try it out and post a type test with the different setups. Since the first initial buy, Wuque Studios has had a ton of different collabs with different keycap sets. For example, GMK Stargaze was one of the sets that had a group buy for a special Stargaze edition of the Ikki68 Aurora. I was very tempted to join in on the group buy, but because I already had one, I held myself back to save money to buy other stuff. Wuque Studios would probably continue to collab with other designers with their keycap sets, so if you really like a set and want a keyboard to match it, you can try suggesting the Ikki68 Aurora to the designer and see if they can make it happen. For those of you who missed out on this group buy and want to get your hands on the Mizu edition, Wuque Studios has announced that they have plans for future rounds and may bring back different colorways based on demand. Since the Mizu edition was highly sought after, it is very likely that it may show up in future rounds, so be sure to follow Wuque Studios' social media accounts to know when they announce future drops. Overall, I'm really happy with this keyboard. Not only does it offer great sound at its price tag, but it also comes with a cable and a case, which is great for someone who is new to the hobby. The plastic gasket chips are a great idea and really allow people to adjust the sound to what they prefer. The badge, which is located above the arrow cluster, is interchangeable, which offers even more customization to buyers, and Wuque Studios plans to offer more badge group buys with their own designs and those from the community. Unfortunately, Wuque Studios has announced that the price for the Ikki68 Aurora will be higher in the upcoming rounds, so we'll have to wait and see how much they decide to increase the price, to decide whether this will be able to compete with the other budget boards in the hobby. But as long as the price isn't increased by too much, I think that the Ikki68 Aurora is a great keyboard that offers a lot for the money, and is an excellent beginner board for someone who prefers a deeper sound profile.